They go first to Vegeta, but the proud Saiyan Prince immediately refuses, opting to stay by Bulma's side as she prepares to give birth. With little time left, Goku remembers that Gohan and Piccolo have been training to handle Godly Ki ever since the last battle with Frieza, making them the next best candidates. They find Gohan at Mr. Satan's mansion, where he's deep into his studies. Goku and Shin quickly explain the situation, and despite the short notice, Gohan agrees to join the team. This is the perfect opportunity to test his recent training in a real battle. When Goku asks if Gohan knows where to find Piccolo, Gohan notes that the Namekian is likely meditating in a distant, isolated area, making him hard to locate. It's at this point that Mr. Satan joins the conversation, suggesting that they bring Buu instead. Goku quickly agrees, acknowledging that Buu's immense power and unique abilities will be valuable assets. With the 3 fighters selected, Goku, Gohan, and Buu, along with Mr. Satan, are promptly transported back to the Xeno Palace by the Grand Priest. Upon their arrival, they find that the arena has already been fully repaired, its mystical structure once again pristine and ready for battle. Goku also noticed that Universe 9 team, the fearsome trio of danger, has already gathered, clearly eager to test their strength in the upcoming exhibition match. With both teams assembled, the Grand Priest steps forward to establish the rules for the upcoming exhibition match. The rules are the following. Ring out. A fighter loses if they are forced out of the ring, whether by being thrown off the stage or they leave the combat zone. Knockout. A fighter is defeated if they are knocked out unconscious and can no longer continue the battle. And submission. A fighter can also lose if they verbally admit defeat. Finally, no killing is allowed. While all other techniques, tools, weapons are permitted, killing the opponent is forbidden. Additionally, fighters can use any personal belonging, including healing items, as long as they are their own and not handed to them during the match. No outside assistance or interference from allies is allowed. With the rules clearly set, the Grand Priest instructs both teams to select their first fighter. After a brief discussion, the Universe 7 team agrees to send in Mr. Buu first. The reasoning is straightforward. Buu is known for being easily bored and might lose interest if he waits too long. At first, Buu himself doesn't seem too particularly enthusiastic about fighting, but after some encouraging words and playful hype from Mr. Satan, the Majin's attitude quickly shifts. With a wide grin, he becomes far more excited to participate. On the opposite side, Basil steps forward as the first representative for Universe 9. As he enters the ring, Goku notes that he cannot sense Basil's ki, quickly realizing that the Universe 9 fighters likely have the ability to conceal their energy. However, despite the lack of a detectable power level, Goku still feels a subtle yet powerful pressure coming from Basil, the kind of overwhelming presence that typically only comes from someone who wields godly ki. This revelation causes Goku to worry. A fighter with even partial godly ki should be a serious threat to Buu. Quickly, Goku tells Mr. Satan to remind Buu to take the fight seriously from the very beginning. In response, Buu suddenly powers up, releasing a massive surge of energy that shocks both Goku and Gohan. His power has clearly grown far beyond what it was years ago. But what truly catches their attention is the nature of his energy. It's not just ordinary ki, it's divine ki. Goku, in disbelief, asks Mr. Satan if Buu has been training, but the world champion simply shrugs, insisting that Buu mostly just eats and sleeps. At this moment, Whis steps in, providing the most likely explanation. When Buu absorbed the Daikaioshin eons ago, he likely inherited a latent form of godly ki that had remained dormant within him. It seems that his last brief battle against Virus might have acted as a catalyst, gradually awakening his divine power. Whis further speculates that Buu's true potential is still emerging, meaning he could become even stronger over time as his godly ki continues to awaken. For now, however, it's clear that Buu has reached a level where he can at least hold his own against another divine ki user. With both fighters ready, the Grand Priest raises his hand, marking the start of the first match. With the signal given, Mr. Boo and Basil close the distance, clashing in intense close quarters combat. Despite his playful nature, Boo surprises Basil with unpredictable and unconventional attacks, stretching his limbs and bending his body in unnatural ways to strike from unexpected angles. Basil, however, quickly demonstrates that he holds the edge in raw physical power, and his strikes landing with greater impact than Boo's. Regardless, Boo's unique physiology and magical abilities allow him to make up for the gap in strength. He easily regenerates from any damage. At first, this gives Boo a clear advantage, as Basil struggles to keep up with the Magi's bizarre movements. However, Basil's fighting style isn't just about brute force. The Canine Warrior has a special ability that gradually increases his power each time he successfully lands a hit on his opponent. As the battle continues, and he manages to strike Boo repeatedly, Basil's strength and speed begin to rise. With every punch and kick, his attacks grow more potent, and his movements become sharper, allowing him to gradually adapt to Boo's unpredictable fighting style. The tide of the battle starts to shift. Basil's constant assault pushes Boo back. The red-footed warrior now uses a combination of rapid energy blast to keep the pressure on his opponent, constantly kicking the key balls back to the Magi. Despite that, Boo is still regenerating and countering whenever he can, but begins to show signs of being outpaced in sheer power. However, as Boo continues to draw on his divine key reserves, more of his latent godly power begins to awaken, his aura sharpens, and his presence becomes far more intense, as if a deeper, hidden power is slowly bubbling to the surface. Recognizing this, Basil stops holding back, clearing his own godly key, resulting in a massive clash of divine energy. Despite Basil's significant power boost from his technique, he is still only slightly stronger than Boo at this point, and the Magi's seemingly endless stamina and regeneration continue to prevent Basil from gaining a definite edge. Frustrated, Basil decides to use his final trump card, a fruit of a tree of might. Without hesitation, he bites down on it, consuming the entire drug-like fruit. Instantly, his muscles swell and his power skyrockets. But he still resolved, aware that this risky move comes at a steep cost. The fruit grants Basil an immense surge of energy, but it strains his body to its absolute limits. Without wasting a second, Basil launches himself at Boo. His speed and strength now overwhelming, Boo, caught off guard, finds himself unable to counter or dodge effectively. He's forced onto the defensive, enduring a brutal barrage of punches, kicks, and energy blasts. The audience watches as Boo takes significant damage, his body now visibly battered and torn, his once endless stamina clearly starting to run low. His magical reserves, which fuel his regeneration, are gradually depleting under Basil's constant attacks. However, the effects of the tree fruit soon begin to catch up with Basil. His movements become slightly erratic, and his attacks lose some of their precision. Boo, despite his own weakened state, managed to spot these brief windows of vulnerability, landing a few critical counterattacks. Eventually, both fighters are left staggering, barely able to stand. Basil's muscle twitch from the strain of the power boost. Although Boo is still regenerating, his visible drained. His normally elastic body now is rather damaged. Just as it seemed Basil might deliver the final blow, Boo suddenly grins mischievously, releasing the last of his magical power. He stretches out his antenna over his head and fires his signature Transfiguration Beam for the first time in the fight. Caught off guard, Basil attempts to dodge, but his exhausted body reacts too slowly, and the beam strikes him directly. In an instant, Basil's body stiffens, his fur turning gray and his body hardening into solid stone, akin to a statue. With a little magic energy left, Boo inhales deeply and unleashes his super breath, sending Basil's petrified body hurtling out of the ring. The Grand Priest raises his hand, declaring Mr. Boo the victor of the first exhibition match. Despite their first loss, The remaining brothers of the Tree of Danger remain confident. They argue that, given more time, Basil would have broken free from Boo's transfiguration spell and secured a victory. On the other side, after receiving cheers from his team and a proud Mr. Saran, Boo quickly falls into a deep sleep, which speculates that this is due to his recent awakening of godly ki. He suggests that when Boo wakes up, he will likely be much more accustomed to this power, potentially becoming even stronger. With Boo out of commission, the second match is announced. The chosen fighters are Lavender from Universe 9 and Gohan from Universe 7. Gohan has been training frequently with Piccolo ever since the resurrection of Frieza, aiming to master the basics of godly ki. As such, he is eager to show his father the results of his training. As they step into the ring, Gohan can sense Lavender's energy, leading him to assume his opponent is at least as strong as Basil. To be safe, Gohan immediately transforms into his demigod Super Saiyan form, putting him above the starting power level Boo had against Basil. This impresses Goku, who's proud to see his son has progressed so far. In response, Lavender releases a dark purple energy from his hands. Gohan cannot sense it directly, but he can feel its intense, dangerous nature. With the stage set, the Grand Priest signals the start of the second match. Lavender charges in, trying to close the distance. Gohan easily reads his movements, confirming his initial assumption that Lavender's power is lower than his. Gohan quickly realizes that Lavender's win condition likely involves landing a hit with his seemingly toxic purple energy. So he backs off, firing a series of ki blasts to keep his distance. To Gohan's surprise, Lavender doesn't bother dodging and tanks the hits, pushing through the attacks to close the gap. Gohan braces for close quarters combat, confident in his superior power and martial arts skills. However, Lavender's wild, unpredictable fighting style, combined with his intimidating, poison-covered strikes, forces Gohan to stay on guard, creating a small openings for the Universe 9 warrior. Despite this, Gohan managed to push Lavender back, creating some breathing room. In response, Lavender launches a volley of energy blast coated in his poisonous energy. Gohan quickly counters with his own blast, successfully neutralizing the attack. Lavender uses this brief exchange to slip behind Gohan, hoping to land a sneak attack. However, the Half Saiyan reads his movement and turns, grabbing Lavender's arm to completely neutralize his toxic hands. Gohan attempts to dislocate his opponent's arms, but the furry opponent cleverly counters by exhaling a similar purple mist directly into Gohan's face. Gohan is caught off guard. The visible poison was a bait, designed to make him focus solely on Lavender's hands. And it works. Blinded by the poison and unable to sense his opponent's energy, Gohan finds himself in a dire situation. The effects of the poison quickly spread through Gohan's face, further weakening him. Even though Gohan's raw power in Super Saiyan form is greater than Lavender, the potency of the poison on itself is actually superior, meaning it works more than optimally. Lavender breaks free and prepares for his next assault. Gohan, now unable to rely on his sight, takes a deep breath and powers up to Super Saiyan 2, releasing a massive burst of energy to push Lavender away. The power level of Super Saiyan 2 helps to slow down the poison spread and eventually outlast its poisonous effects. Thinking quickly, Gohan decides to rely on his hearing to track Lavender's movements. When Lavender attempts to attack again, Gohan surprises him with a wide-range Masenko, successfully landing a hit. Lavender, now realizing Gohan's strategy, compliments him for his quick thinking. Realizing he needs more power, Lavender powers up with godly ki, creating a noticeable pressure that even a blinded Gohan can feel. This sudden pressure confirms Gohan that his opponent began using divine energy, but the Half Saiyan correctly assumes that his current level should still be enough to win if he managed to avoid being poisoned again. Lavender changed tactics, creating multiple energy clones to confuse Gohan's hearing. The clones are fragile but serve their purpose, surrounding Gohan and forcing him to waste energy. However, Gohan responds by surrounding himself with a barrier, blocking the clones' attacks and preventing any further poisoning, although at the cost of significant energy consumption. The fight resumes, and despite his blinded state, Gohan is capable of dodging and countering Lavender's attacks, while his barrier does the heavy lifting. The scuffle drags on, but Gohan holds his ground long enough for the poison to weaken, gradually recovering some of his vision. Gohan knows his barrier won't hold forever, since it is draining his energy so quickly, and with his vision still only partially recovered, he needs to end the fight soon. Lavender, recognizing this, realized that his only path to victory is to break through Gohan's defense with a single decisive attack. Lavender releases from his mouth a massive cloud of toxic smoke, quickly engulfing the entire ring. The barrier around Gohan's body keeps the potion from seeping in, but the dark dense fog obscures all the little sight he recovered, making it impossible for Gohan to pinpoint his opponent's exact position. Understanding this, Gohan flies away into the air, distancing himself from the cloud. He then unleashes a rain of powerful Cliff Blast, hoping to flush Ravender out or at least disrupt whatever plan he might be executing within the smoke. However, Lavender is already one step ahead. He doesn't attempt to dodge the science attack. Instead, he absorbs the entire poisonous cloud back into his palm, recovering part of the energy used for creating it. The sudden disappearance of the smoke catches Gohan off guard. What he thought was a defensive smoke screen was actually a setup for a final concentrated blast. Lavender's gamble is clear. He's poured all his remaining power into a single compressed wave of poisonous energy, designed to pierce Gohan's barrier and finish the fight in one decisive blow. Given the sheer potency of his poison, it might be enough to shatter Gohan's defense. After realizing the dangerous threat, Gohan pushes himself to his limit, transforming into his ultimate state. The surge of power removes the remnants of the poison from his face, allowing him to fully focus. Lavender hesitates for a fraction of a second, caught off guard by the sudden spike in Gohan's power, but he has no choice but to commit. He thrusts his hands forward, unleashing his final, concentrated poison beam. Gohan responds instantly, raising his hands, firing a massive Kamehameha. The two beams collide. Gohan's superior raw power quickly turns the tide. His Kamehameha begins to push back Lavender's final attack. Realizing he can't win in a straight beam struggle, Lavender makes a split-second decision. With his exceptional skill manipulating his poison, he fractures his beam into multiple smaller waves that curve around the Kamehameha, slipping past the main blast and striking Gohan from multiple angles. Gohan's body tenses as the toxic strikes crash into his unprotected body, but despite his clever move, Lavender pays the price. The full force of Gohan's Kamehameha slams into him. As the dust settles, Lavender immediately collapses. His body is too damaged to continue. However, his final poisonous strikes have taken their toll on Gohan. The poison rapidly spreads through his body, and with his energy drained, Gohan collapses. Technically, Gohan remains the last conscious fighter, but only for a brief moment. His strength fades entirely, and he too collapses, his body twitching as the poison takes full effect. The Grand Priest steps forward, raising his hand and declares a draw. After the fight, Gohan is completely healed by Whis, and then he apologizes to his father for failing to secure the win. But Goku reassures him, placing a firm hand on his shoulder, saying that he did the best he could, and the only thing lacking is more experience against tricky opponents such as Lavender. Goku encourages Gohan, letting him know that he is proud. Shortly after, the final match between Goku and Bergamo is set, the strongest fighters from their respective teams. Both prepare for battle in the ring. Goku is visibly excited, hoping for a great fight, Bergamo is also eager, remarks on how even the previous match had been, confidently saying that if it were a team battle, he and his brothers would have won. Goku just replies that he's curious to see how strong they really are as a team. Once both fighters are ready, the Grand Priest signals the start of the match. Alright guys, that should be it for part 2. I should be uploading the next one the following week. It will cover the fights of Goku against Bergamo and also Topo. And it is basically the end of the whole exhibition match sub-arc. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video and are also enjoying this format. It is not the best, but I think it served its purpose well enough. So thank you for watching and see you next time. I hope you're having a great day, and if not, I'm sure it will get better. So yeah, goodbye.